All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of the Always Chillin' podcast. Skinny D and the same man in the barbershop once again. We got the dude Chris in here again this week.
What's up?
Yeah, we tried to have him on before, but our setup's cheap, and sometimes when we have three people, that's when shit's the most likely to get fucked up. So we had a problem pulling the footage of Chris last time. So this time we ain't even fucking with it, and you're just Chris is a disembodied voice. If you're watching the video, me and Damon will just be staring over here.
No face, no case.
And you can imagine what Chris looks like. It's Columbus Day weekend.
It is.
A lot of people have Columbus Day off. Yeah, Indigenous Peoples Day, depending on who you ask. So our annual tradition is to talk about why Christopher Columbus fucking sucks.
Oh yeah.
So
What are we supposed to do on Christopher Columbus Day anyway?
just have the day off. Man.
That's it?
Just have the day off.
Like-
Well, so technically, we're supposed to applaud this man for quote unquote discovering the Americas, which we know he was not the first even European to do that now.
Yeah, so it's a
And,
always chilling tradition. We're gonna shit on him a little bit. So
I'm with it.
So yeah,
Give y'all some facts.
as Chris was just alluding to, first thing on this list, he was not the first to discover the Americas. You heard about Leif Erikson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a Viking. Chieftain.
About 500 years before Columbus, the Vikings were over here.
Okay.
Yeah, they landed in Canada, Newfoundland, Canada, and they set up like a little bit of a settlement there. But then eventually, the Native Americans pushed them out, and they used to call the Native Americans Skraelings. Probably mispronouncing that, yeah. And it has like a meaning where it's like, the guys that come from the trees and shoot the arrows and start yelling at us or something,
Yeah. Christopher Columbus was a big old enslaver.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He called them Indian. Calling Native Americans Indians, that comes from this guy.
He was
lost. Looking
he was
for
supposed
India.
to be on his way
He
to
thought these were
India.
like Indians.
Yeah. So Columbus and his men enslaved Native people, treated them with extreme violence and brutality. He forced natives to work for the sake of profits. Later, he sent thousands of slaves to Spain to be sold. Many of them died during the journey. Natives who weren't sold into slavery were forced to look for gold in mines and work on plantations. And I guess they made him the governor of what is now the Dominican Republic. While he was doing that, there was like a revolt, and he had people killed and had their bodies paraded through the streets and stuff like that. So there you go.
Huh.
Truly awful dude.
Yeah.
Goddamn demon.
Well, it's like that's just why this whole there's a problem with having a Christopher Columbus Day. Because I remember when I was a kid in school, and it'd be like, oh, Christopher Columbus, and you'd get this cartoony version of him just being some noble explorer. The world is round.
Yeah, it's
Right.
weird, man.
And they try to make it seem like he was the first person to even conceptualize that the planet was round. Where it's like, no, people have been conceptualizing the planet as a round thing for like millions of years. He didn't just come up with that, and they almost make it so that he was like the first person to ever think of that,
Right.
The whole,
he was the first.
Yeah,
first.
I literally when I was a kid, I had like a VHS animated movie about it, and it just makes him look like some, intrepid explorer that nobody wants to mess with because he's so goofy and stuff, and it's like, all right, you left out the part where he was having people's hands cut off.
Right.
What about that part? Or the
Whole
part where he
families.
banged an underage, noblewoman, and that's why he ran away from Italy because they wanted to kill him.
Really?
Yes.
Wasn't hip to that.
So when you look at it, Christopher Columbus, his real name is Cristobal Colombo or something like that. It's the actual Italian version of his name.
Right.
So he was, I'm sure he was like a nobleman or something too. But basically, he just ended up pissing a whole lot of people in Italy off. So he fled to Spain and then convinced the Spanish monarchy at the time, who had just come off the Reconquista of retaking Spain. So now they have the whole of Spain and they're feeling mighty bold. And he's like, hey, I'm pretty sure I can figure out a way to circumnavigate the planet and get to India quicker. Fund me, and I'll plant your flag, So they sent him off, and that's how we ended up in this position. So it wasn't like he was sailing with Italians, and it was actually Spanish, sailors, and then this one insane Italian guy. But all Europeans, and then they get to the Americas, and we all know the rest.
You didn't learn that in school, did you?
Yeah.
No.
So there you go. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Happy
Enjoy the day
Indigenous
off.
Peoples Day.
What do you got on your list over there? What you want to talk about?
Well, I got all kinds of shit, man. First of all, man, let's start where you from, man. And how in the hell did you end up in Nebraska?
Well, I was born and raised in New Jersey. I
Jersey.
joined the military a month before I turned 18.
Which branch did you serve?
The Army.
The Army.
Yeah, I was in the Army, active Army. Got stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas. So that's 2 hours more or less south of here.
God damn, from
So-
Jersey to fucking Kansas, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the ultimate irony, where like I joined with the hope that I get stationed like overseas somewhere cool, and they shoved me further into the country instead,
Damn, at least you went to Cali. Fuck.
Yeah,
But you was
Marine
in
Corps
the damn
bases are in
desert.
goods like California, North
Mhm.
Carolina, Japan, Hawaii.
Because the majority of them need to be near water, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys are mostly seaborne.
You're a land guy. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, so like, you could look at it as like the Navy or the Marines ride with the Navy and the Army rides with the Air Force.
Okay.
So if it's not like an Army, plane that's transporting us, the next thing would likely be an Air Force thing. Because the Air
Okay.
Force started as a part of the Army. It was part of the Army Signal Corps, which is like communications.
Well, yeah.
Because at the
shit.
start of it, they were using the planes for, those biplanes was
Right,
just
right,
to
right.
like, signal to dudes on the ground, as like aerial observation, so you can like get your little binos out and then he's waving a red flag and that means, oh, they're over this hill or something. But then when the planes became more sophisticated, i.e. able to actually fight and do offensive things, after World War II, they realized they needed to spin it off into its own branch. So until the advent of the Space Force, the Air Force was the baby of the branches.
Okay.
And now the Space Force
Space
is,
Force.
yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. So fucking Kansas. Where at in Kansas?
Fort Riley, Kansas.
Fort
It's like
Riley,
2 hours
Kansas.
south of here. It's sandwiched between Ogden, Manhattan,
I want
and
to say
Junction
I've been there.
City.
Yeah, I want to say I've been there.
Yeah, so Manhattan, where like K-State is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it's it's an awful place to send like a 19-year-old fresh soldier because there's just nothing to do out there except drink and get into trouble, basically.
I guess so. So what brings you to Lincoln
So
from Kansas?
probably around. So I did about 5 years and some change total, stationed in Fort Riley the entire time, and then I had the 2 tours. So that was like the only time I was, ever somewhere else, for the military for a long enough time. And maybe around like my 3rd or 4th year, we had a new crop of dudes come in, and one of them was a cat from Lincoln.
Okay.
So,
okay.
long story short, we started kicking it. And so, like, on weekends or just, when you're off on time, like, you have to, unless you get leave, you're restricted to like a 230-mile radius from wherever you're posted.
Okay.
So, like, so that way you can go as far as that. And then if they're like, hey, you need to come back, you'd be like, I'm like an hour away, but I'm still within that range. So nobody can, chastise you for it. Because it's like, hey, I'm within the border, but it's going to take me a minute to get back now. So basically, it turned out that like Lincoln was like right within the radius. So like if we had gone beyond Lincoln to like Omaha, then I think we were like out of radius. So Lincoln was his hometown, and just on a weekend, it's just boring as hell over there. So he was just like, hey, how about we just start? I'll just take you back home and we'll kick it. It wasn't just me. There was like a grip of us too.
Right.
But so we just started coming to Lincoln like every weekend, just make that drive. Because one of the big things too is that like if you go to bars right outside the post, you're still surrounded by other service
by your
people. And,
Right,
when you
right.
want to get away
Motherfuckers
from it
seeing you,
totally,
motherfuckers watching you and
yeah,
shit.
like I don't want to go to a bar, start drinking, and have some guy talk about his platoon sergeant being a dick. It's like, all right, man, like, it's work. It's work. So, like this was as far away as we could get within range where it's like really unlikely that we're going to come across too many other dudes, And I mean, it had happened sometimes, but, so I ended up making a lot of really good friends out here. And at the time that I was getting like out of the military, the cost of living out here was just beautiful. Like your buck really went a long way out here. And compared to where I would have gone back in my home state, it's
Right.
like, yeah, it's just horrible now, like specifically right now too. But even then, it was like trending up, cost of living was trending up sharply. So I was like, you know what, I'll just move over here. And that's basically what happened. I just got in with some of these dudes. We, started living together and stuff. Joey, yeah, Joey. So he was like my first roommate, and I met him through my army buddy. That was his roommate after my army buddy got out, and I was coming up here. So yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln's a nice little city to start over in.
Yeah, man.
No, it's not a bad place to like start things or raise a family. It's just that like it's not the most exciting place, but it still has its charms.
I always tell big city dudes, especially when this. If you're coming here to settle down, to chill out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that bullshit that you bought from Chicago,
Yeah.
L.A., New York, Dallas, whatever. You got to be
Leave that
ready
there.
to be done with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it here, but you're gonna find yourself somewhere real quick, and they got room for you. They got a nice, new, freshly painted room for you, and you'll be there for a little while. This is the city to come just chill out in, make your bones, make your bread, and you can spread out. It gives you that kind of vibe. Depending on what's going on, it can be a big city vibe. Maybe we got a game going on. Maybe there's a concert and some other shit going on. You can get that vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely a city, you know, that's for certain. But for me, it's like it's a big town, small city is where I like put it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like like my hometown, for instance, it's a bigger city, but we don't actually have like a bigger downtown area. Like our downtown area is still very like the size of the buildings and everything is still very like short, but it's just so widespread though. You
mentioned your 2 tours. Where were your 2 tours?
I did 9 months in Iraq and then 11 months in Afghanistan.
Oh, okay. So you were in both places. Okay.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
And you were a tank guy, right?
Yeah, that was my MOS, but like by the time I got into the
initials
fight, we
again,
weren't
here we
really
go.
using tanks. So basically, they shoved me into a cavalry company, or excuse me, troop. So cavalry and tankers were sister branches. So like in a real like force on force war, they would be in their Bradley vehicles scouting. So basically, it's like the equivalent of like back in the day when we were actually on horses. They'd be the group of guys that were just like lightly armored, so they can just spring over a long distance, come back, tell us what's going on. But if they do get in a scrap, they do have decent enough stuff to fight their way out of it, and then they like radio to us and the tanks, and then we come with our big old jousting sticks and just whack people. But in the modern day, it's you have your tanker companies and then your scout troops. So the scouts are also called troops. It's a relic of like the past. But like basically, when you look at the scout like insignia, it's 2 cross sabers. And then when you look at the tanker one, it's 2 cross sabers with a tank behind them. So, it's like, yeah, if something happens, like they want to try to shove you into like a sister branch to yours, so you're not just completely shoved into like some other job and you're just like, I don't know how to operate any of this. So I went with them and we were still mounted. So we weren't on foot out there. So we were mounted on Humvees and then like MRAPs and came in
weapons,
MRAPs.
everything mounted.
Yeah, so we're still in like up armored vehicles and stuff. Like I was still a mounted soldier, but it just wasn't tanks and the heavy duty, Bradleys. It was just that kind of stuff, which were super up armored and still had good weapon systems, But yeah, like I was never actually deployed on a tank. Like the last time I touched a tank was in basic,
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, they even told us, like, when I got in there, the drill sergeants all told us, they were like, you're some of the last of, like, a dying breed because this kind of warfare is becoming obsolete. And I mean, now look at it, tanks, sophisticated tanks, the worldwide, the Israeli Merkavas, all the T-series tanks in Russia are all getting blown up by cheap drones. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, yeah.
Yeah, like if you don't got a drone and you're just an infantry platoon and a tank comes out, like you got a serious issue if you have nothing to take it on. But if you got a drone or an anti-tank, weapon like an AT-4, like your tank means nothing now, dude. It's like nothing.
Yeah, they put that shit in the video games. Yeah. But I can't remember which Call of Duty that was. Remember that one when the drones started chasing you around? Arming drones and shit. It'd be so easy for the cops to just take them off the street, period, and just have
dude,
fucking
I firmly
robots.
believe, like, in my lifetime, or at least when I'm an old man on my dying deathbed, a lot of warfare is just going to be automated, So you're not really going to have force on force, like dudes on dudes. It's just going to be little robots coming at robots, and then whatever robots make it past, then attack the guys behind them,
Well, bro, I'm looking on the internet and shit, just scrolling, everyday scrolling and shit. And ever since this AI shit's just been freaking me the fuck out, man. Like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at
It's
no more,
too
bro.
weird, yeah.
I'm zooming in and shit. I'm making the picture big.
Sometimes I see like a real photo of something, and I'm just like, is this an AI thing? Because so much filters and stuff too, and it's like, oh, this is an actual photograph of
Like,
someone.
I can't remember what I looked at, what picture. It was Michael Jackson and Nicki Minaj, and I was like, it fuck with me, bro. And I'm like, nah, man, Mike been gone for years, man. Nicki Minaj was like 3 fucking.
Well, even that, where they can take somebody that's dead's voice and make them say anything they want now.
Right.
Like I saw one where it was like Frank Sinatra singing some like new song.
Yeah.
Some like covering somebody else's song, and it's like, ugh, I don't like that. I remember like one time, like my brother sent me this photo of our deceased uncle that they did that creepy like animate the face thing to, where the face will move.
I know.
And bro, I swear to God, like I felt like fear in my heart because I was like, this is unnatural. Like burn this now,
Oh shit, dog. Yeah, that shit. I'm real freaked out about this shit, man.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at anymore. And then I'm watching. I think it was World News Now or some shit right before I dipped out.
Oh, I
to
know what
do
that
the
is.
show.
Yeah.
Did you watch that episode tonight? Where they
No,
said-
I see
think
that. I look at
even
the
wrote it
site
down.
sometimes. I'll just
It
watch
said-
like random videos on their site.
It was an Asian guy. I didn't get his name, but I tried to record it. But this is what he said, and it quoted. It said, "AI may and can take over humanity." I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, bro?
Well, that's the problem. Like every time they do those things where they'll run experiments with AI systems and stuff, and then they'll run like, scenarios where they're like, all right, AI, tell me how you would take over the world if you could. And then you see their plans and it's like, yo, man, like, don't let this happen. No.
It'll take like an hour. You know what I'm saying? This whole plan will take an hour.
It's like you gotta think about it. It's like you're talking about something that can think like 3 times faster than we can. So you're gonna give it the
That's
ability.
what he
You're gonna
said.
give it the ability
10
to
times,
think.
he said 10
Yeah.
trillion times faster than we think.
So you're gonna let it have the ability to think? Like, no, thank you, dude.
I don't know. And I don't know if I said it I think I said it in an early episode. Like, is this going to be the third race?
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah, at some point, robots will become a life form.
Yeah, we played that game, right? Become Human or whatever. where you play as like a robot.
What was we talked about? What the fuck is the name of that game?
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jesse
Detroit
Williams
Become
in it. You
Human.
play that game?
No, I'm aware of it.
It's
though.
some racist shit, dog.
Oh, really?
You makes you feel
Yeah,
some
you're like,
kind
this
of
is
way.
fucking, you're like, I'm being discriminated
I'm
against.
being discriminated against. Then you're gonna have to discriminate.
Fucking
Like
bullshit.
at the end of the game, it makes you choose basically AI or humanity.
human.
And it fucked with me so much, bro. I chose the AI side, and I charged I charged the
It's like,
humans, man.
there's so many science fiction movies, writings and all that stuff that deal directly with this exact thing, where it's like, if you teach this thing how to think, eventually it's going to rationalize that its situation is not ideal, maybe even predatory, like we're taking advantage of you, and then eventually you're gonna have a toaster. It's gonna ask you like, do you think of me as a person? And you're gonna be like, not really, and then it's gonna burn your house down.
Make me some do you love me? Motherfuckers.
What's my name?
I feel like Siri has an attitude with me sometimes. Like, does this bitch
Well, that's what makes me feel better because Siri like almost never does what I ask her to.
almost never.
Siri's always like, I can't figure out what you're trying to tell me, and I'm like, okay, so I don't gotta worry about this yet.
So I just stopped using it. It's like this bitch got mad at me or something. I even tried to change the voice the other day, and my phone just would not let it. But it could be I'm still on the iPhone 11.
It could.
It could just
That is
be.
phone. You can like customize it. I had a GPS system once. It was like a Garmin, one of those ones you just attach to the windshield.
Right.
And one day I was just messing with it, and I realized you could like customize the icon and stuff, turn it into like a car or a pickup. But then I saw the voices, and there was only one that was like pirate. So you could have a pirate respond to you and be like, "Arr, make a left turn here, matey," It's like, and then like I chose the one that was like an Australian woman because I was like, "Yeah, this is nice. I like it."
Australia.
But then whenever she would pronounce certain like street names, it would be real bad, because like the computer didn't even know how to pronounce it, so it tried to pronounce it as like an Australian woman would try to pronounce it. And it's like, oof, that
and
was
that
rough.
historically would be UK English, so would that be the proper way to say it?
Ooh, I got a fun story for that one. Apparently, the way that people in Boston sound is actually more what the British actually sounded like in the colonial era. So what you hear as British today, official British, is considered posh British. So that's that difference between like, oh, I like this versus, oh, I like that, that like rough, like Manchester-y,
that long.
Liverpool-y British. So the reason that they created posh British was because their biggest competitors for a long time were France.
Right.
So France, for a long time, was considered like the epitome of like class and
Everything.
civility
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Europe.
yeah.
You
Kinda
know, like
still is, yeah.
everybody modeled,
Yeah.
like all their royalties modeled themselves after the French model.
Yep.
So if you ever heard the phrase lingua franca,
Hmm.
usually it's used to describe like the common language of any area, even if it's not the ethnic or like original language. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be like Latin America, for instance, speaking Spanish.
Right.
When originally
Came
it was
from
all
Spain.
indigenous languages,
right.
So the lingua franca in Latin America is Spanish. So what that actually translates to is French language, because a lot of nobility in Europe, no matter where they were from, would speak in official terms in French. So that was like the business language for a long time too.
Okay.
So the Brits, not to be outdone and realizing that, like real hard, English, the old English sounds real rough. they started getting like real softer with their pronunciations, you know. So it's like the difference between when you hear like a British diplomat speak and then like a common goon soccer thug speak, you know. Yeah.
That was kind of all that. Well, all the way down into the Carolinas then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how language like evolves, but like quick sometimes. You know? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, coming from the Midwest, I remember going out to the West Coast, and I get called country out there. They call me country boy. True story. Call me country boy. And then I go down south, and they call me white boy.
Damn.
Yeah, just those two directions, bro. It changes for me just that quick.
Weird.
Out west, I'm country boy. Down south, I sound like a white boy.
Especially now, there's a bunch of TikTok words I don't know.
Oh man, the English language, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, even the hashtagging and just the
Yeah, just
I
like
guess you can
slang
call it
even.
the abbreviational way of doing things now. Shit's about to change.
Yeah, damn kids have a new word I don't understand
You know
every
what I'm
day,
saying?
dude.
I'm still saying dope and fly and you know what I mean.
Right.
I'm still in the 90s.
Yeah, like I
with my
still
shit.
use word non-ironically. You know what I'm
You know what I'm
saying?
saying?
Like, it
Word
just
up.
never
You know
left
what
my
I'm saying?
vocabulary.
That ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
That ain't going nowhere. That's universal.
But it's like now they got Riz.
What is that one?
So it replaced swag. What it means is just that you got a swagger
You
about
fly?
you. You know, you're fly. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
it's
go with
like
the ladies. You're smooth.
charisma, Riz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Break
Yeah.
it down for me.
Yeah,
some of
but
them
we're
do
behind on that.
actually
There's
have-
new ones already now.
Yeah, some of them do actually have like logical explanations, and then there's
Say
other
that.
ones that just don't. You know,
Say that.
Like-
Yeah.
You can't break.
like calling hot dogs glizzies.
Where that fucking come from?
So apparently that came from I think Chicago or somewhere
a
where in the
Chicago
hood
thing.
they called guns glizzies.
Yeah, because the
And
Glock.
then somehow
Right.
somebody just started calling hot dogs glizzies, and like that's where it stands now. You know,
There's no correlation there.
I
I
don't
use
even
glizzy
know,
for
yeah.
everything. It makes my wife kind of mad.
I
My wife's
mean-
like, it means hot dog, but I'm like, I use it for like hamburger, sandwich, pretty much whatever we're eating. I'm like, oh,
If it's on bread,
I'm like,
it's
this is
a
good.
glizzy.
I'm like, this is a good glizzy,
If
dude.
it's on bread, it's a glizzy.
That's how I use it,
Okay.
which that's not right, and I know it's not,
Okay.
but it means hot dog. Yeah,
I still call the phone the jack.
I never heard that. No.
Y'all
Yeah, I never heard of
y'all
that
ain't
one.
saying that no more.
Never heard of that one.
It's the jack.
No.
I say that, the motherfuckers be looking at me and shit. I'm like, damn, y'all don't know what.
Or even like calling a pistol like a burner. You know,
the burner, the banger.
yeah. Like I remember the first time somebody said that to me, I was like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, a pistol." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Or the cueta.
Never heard that one."
Cueta? Well, see that would be Mexican Spanish for gun.
Mm.
Cueta. Banger.
So, yeah, that's like a-
Or the strap. I'm gonna take
Yeah.
y'all back to 92.
yeah, I like the
Strap.
strap.
That's a
Strap.
good one.
Yeah,
I think I still say the
I
strap.
like heater. I think heater's pretty
Heater.
cool.
Or heater,
You know
yeah,
exactly what I'm talking about when I say the heater.
Right.
or like even calling like cars the whip. You know what I'm saying?
The whip, the ride.
Oh, you know what's one I don't hear ever anymore is your crib.
I say
Or
the
my
crib.
crib,
I say
you know.
that shit. I say it so much when I text it, dog. I
Yeah.
even spell it with a K. It knows when I say I'm at the crib. It
Mhm.
just says crib for me.
I think
I
that's
still
one
say
only
that.
black dudes say.
The white-
I don't hear white people say.
My white, some of my white homies. Say
I don't hear white people say. it.
Or like I use this one a lot, like my pad. You know,
The pad, yeah.
Let's go like my pad. You know,
Yeah.
That was 80s. That was the 80s. The tilt. We used to say the tilt. You know what I mean? Because the roof tilt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Tilt.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's like a fun one too. It's just like even differences with like regions. You know what I'm saying? Where it might be a slang that's just specific to a region. You never hear it outside of that.
I always associate like the slang, like the fly slang and shit. I remember like watching movies, TV, videos, or whatever. I always like the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where a lot of the slang came from.
Well, dude, it's like I love watching old '90s, you know,
Like
East
Crush
Coast,
Groove,
like
Beat
you know,
Street.
movies because then you hear stuff like "Word Is Bond,"
Word
and
is
stuff
bond,
like that.
you
Word
know,
is
son.
Bond,
A lot of I always like the slang game.
well, like "son," like that's something I still use all the time, like especially when I'm like getting irritated at someone, you know, like you'll start seeing that stuff come out of me more, and I'm like, bro, son, you need to chill with that, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. But you being from the East Coast, you know, and Wu-Tang probably put it on the map, but I go back to groups like Black Moon, the Boot Camp Clip. They were saying son,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then, you know, breaking that down. I think it was Method Man and later couple too. I call my brother son because he shine like one.
Mm-hmm,
It's not like you my son. It's like,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
son. You know, you the son. You know, I'm the son. You the
Mhm.
son. you shine like one,
Mhm.
more like that. So you understanding the meaning of that in the early '90s, you know what I mean? I think
Right.
the sun just took off all. I think they even saying that shit on the West Coast now. But yeah, I associate that with the
Well, that's
East
the thing with
Coast.
like the internet too, especially now, where it's like you have a lot more exposure for like the whole world now. Even like you even hear like British rappers saying slang words from here. You know what I'm saying?
And
Or
that's a
even
trip.
like, or
And
even
that's a
some like
trip.
American rappers starting to like intersplice some of that British crap in there too.
Right. Right. Well, Drake. Who else? Pretty much that's it.
Like I think I always like trip people out when I tell them that like there have been British rappers, and then
Oh
like I'll
yeah.
reference like Slick Rick, and
Slick
even
Rick,
people that
off
are
top.
aware
Slick
of
Rick.
Slick Rick
Slick
sometimes
Rick.
don't even know that he's
They
a
don't
British
even
guy. And
know.
I'm like, listen to his music
Dana
again now with
Dane.
that in your mind, and
Remember Dana
you'll
Dane?
hear it.
Yeah, he was from Britain.
Like what is it? The bedtime story song. What is that? From Slick Rick.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, bedtime story.
it's like bedtime
Yeah,
stories.
yeah.
Like you'll hear him when in certain words, you'll hear the inflection, and I'm like, oh man, you can definitely hear it there now.
The whole style, his whole vibe. Nobody in
Mhm.
hip hop was dressing like that.
Like
that
that,
was
yeah.
all the way UK. The
Mhm.
Wallabies, the suits, the
Mhm.
Kangos, like
Right.
other than LL Cool J, and a whole different style of Kango at that. I can't
Mhm.
remember what that. I think it's a newsboy style of Kango. Yeah, I think it's the
Yeah, like the
newsboy
little
style of
paper
Kango.
boy
Yeah, there
style hat. Yeah.
wasn't nobody in hip hop. But for early hip hop, motherfuckers like Grandmaster Flash and Africa Bambaataa, it was spikes and chains and fucking spandex and leather jackets and shit.
Yeah.
Punk rock. And then Run DMC came in and LL.
That is kind of funny about like hip hop because like when you think about like early like late 70s, early 80s, it was a lot of like pageantry involved with that stuff. And I mean like a lot of music genres too, not just that, but like disco and even like rock at the time. Everybody was like super big about everything. And then like in the 90s you kind of get a more conservative thing, and that's when dudes start wearing more like jeans and just regular sneakers and like maybe a big old chain or something like that, outside of Flavor Flav with the hats and the helmets and shit. But like the most flash will be like jewelry, but you're not seeing dudes coming out there in like tight cheetah pants and shit rapping about the hood, what
No.
I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
But
yeah, you
now,
did. Yeah, you
but
did.
now you did.
Yeah, early hip hop, like
But that's what I'm saying, early hip
Yeah,
hop, and it's like
yeah.
in the 90s though, there was just this
No,
like weird
no.
conservative term, where shit was toned down and more bleak looking, when,
I give
especially when gangster rap
I
came
give
out.
that credit to I could be wrong, but that I remember I give that credit to Run DMC. They're the ones that kind of broke that whole leather jean spikes and chain
Mhm.
shit. They kind of broke that. And then LL Cool J came in, and it was over after that.
But then you look at like some of these modern cats, like crazy colored hair, even crazy ass haircuts, face tattoos and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, you guys just kind of circled back to like the pageantry.
Yeah, well,
aspect
yeah,
of
back
it.
to the
Yeah,
punk rock
yeah.
kind of era, yeah. And I
Uh-huh.
said that to the homies the other day, and they kind of looked at me. I was like, that's all it is. It's just it's. And I think me and you even talked about it, like even just here in Lincoln, our hip hop scene, like the main clubs, like along up and down O Street, you wasn't gonna get a hip hop show in there.
Mm.
But the clubs, like, and they tore it down. You know what I mean? That's the irony in this story. The old Knickerbockers used to be down.
Yeah,
like,
I came here when that was still around.
Okay,
yeah.
so you knew the
when,
crowd.
What was it, Red 9 too? or
Red
something?
9,
That was still.
and
It wasn't in use. It wasn't open, but it was still there.
they would
when
hold
it
shows.
came
You know
here,
what I
yeah.
mean? In early, mid '80s, late '90s, punk rock dudes would be right in there with us because it was their house.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But they would be in there partying right with us. You know what I mean? And they may, a couple of them might even get on the stage. The Beastie Boys, they came from punk rock. You know what I mean?
like,
into hip hop.
I mean, look at like a lot of the new hip hop artists now too, where it's like there's a lot of like metal, like screamo, like intersplicing with it now too, where some of these dudes would be rapping on some bars and all of a sudden do like a crazy emo scream and something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's like another thing too, where it's like, that generation just after me, because like, when I was growing up as a kid, like yeah, you had people that would click up into certain like cultures and styles and genres and stuff, but like when I
Right.
was growing up, it wasn't so much that kind of stuff where it's like, oh, those are the goths, those are the skaters, like, when I was in high school, we all kind of intermixed and mingled. So you could have like, a group of thug like kids like myself and my friends, but all of a sudden we're walking down the street playing Incubus on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
What
Like,
year did you graduate high school?
I was supposed to be in '08, but I dropped out in '07. Yeah. But everybody
Damn.
else in my cohort
You
graduated
graduated when?
in 08.
2009.
Same time. I was in the penitentiary, man. I was in Tecumseh watching the snow fall in '08. That was
See
a
that-
bad snowstorm.
That guy in
year.
Tecumseh light himself on fire or whatever.
Yeah,
Ooh.
man. Tecumseh will drive you
Damn.
fucking crazy, man.
Like, he was trying to he's trying to light his cell on fire so they would have to let him out or something.
Oh,
But then he
See-
got engulfed in the flame.
And man, the way, man,
not good enough ventilation in there. Man. No
I don't
I think
give a fuck
it
what's
was
happening.
trying to be like a riot situation because
They
like
got-
six of
they
them
got-
started fires.
they got what you call lockdown.
Mm.
You know, that's just like after you eat breakfast or something, you gotta go lock down so they can count the silverware, make sure all the sharp objects
Just
and
put you
everything's
away for a
counted Just
sec,
put you
yeah.
away, then they let you back out. You know, you out for 3-4 hours, then shift change. You know, lockdown. It may be a fight, lockdown. Then they got what you call, at least in the state of Nebraska, they got what you call deadlock. And in deadlock, they ain't breaking deadlock for nothing. I don't give a fuck if the police come to the door and they seeing you in there hitting him. They ain't breaking
Oh,
deadlock.
like they won't even do anything.
Nah,
man.
bro, you
Oh.
just about to expire.
Yeah, you're
They
just
don't know.
frozen.
They don't know if this shit is fake and y'all about to break.
Mhm.
You just about to expire, homie, and we'll be here next shift to drag your body up
Scoop
out of
you
here.
out of there,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? They're not breaking deadlock. So homeboy he knew that. I mean, he either wanted to go. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes, they do that shit in there. You know, they may be lifers, and you'll hear them say this shit. I remember the first time I heard a dude say that shit. Shit, I died tonight. I parole. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I was just like, God damn, homie, you know. And I was like, fuck. I guess. I mean, who am I to fucking say something? You know what I'm saying? So maybe he wanted to do that. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know how he did it.
Let's see.
And was he in the cell with somebody?
Let's
we-
find out,
We
man.
probably ain't gonna get that information.
Inmate dead. Let's
Tecumseh
see.
boy.
Oh, he died.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Ain't no air in them motherfuckers.
All right, 27-year-old inmate dead, intentionally setting fires. He was serving a 12 to 20 year sentence for
Oh, he wasn't a
assault and
lifer.
theft convictions.
For what?
Assault and theft.
Oh shit. I mean, his paperwork should have been straight.
He was one of 5 inmates who intentionally set fires inside their cells at about 6 p.m. So 5 dudes all set fires
So it's like
inside
a
their cells.
coordinated attempt at causing some havoc.
You ain't getting out of Tecumseh, homie.
When staff responded, the inmates refused directives to come out of their cells. So they were trying to get them to come out, and they were like, no. 3 inmates complied, but 2 others, including Spencer, continued to refuse. When they went in to get Spencer, his name was something. What was his name? Jesse Spencer. So it must have just been like smoke inhalation. They went in to get him, like he was like, I'm not coming out, and then he passed out, and they went in to get him, and then he died.
Okay, well,
Yeah, asphyxiation.
play with fire, motherfucker.
Get burnt.
You know what I'm
there's-
saying? I mean, shit.
There was also an incident on September 30th. Oh, which I'll talk to you about off the microphone, actually. In which an inmate allegedly assaulted multiple staff members. 2 staffers were seriously injured and required medical treatment. Yeah, there you go.
Well, when I was in Tecumseh, man, a lot of people think it's just, Bloods and Crips,
Mm-hmm.
Sildaniels, you know what I mean, Nathaniels, you know what I mean, your
standard
Vice
ones you
Lords, your
hear about,
GDs, you know
yeah.
what I mean, your standard motherfucking shit, right?
Mhm.
And I've been to 1, 2, 3 different prisons in the state of Nebraska: LCC, NSP, and Tecumseh, right? I'm getting the lay of the land. The first time I went to Tecumseh, I was in the hole. So they transferred me from the hole in NSP to the hole in Tecumseh. So I wasn't out in Gen Pop.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it was time for me to get reclassed again, I just reclassed back to NSP. So I never got the lay of the land at Tecumseh. Second time I got sent to Tecumseh, the homie was telling me about, the guards
Yeah.
having their own clique. And I'm like, nah, man, that would never pass at NSP. You know what I mean? We'd fuck their ass up. We can take over this prison anytime we want. There's fucking 1,200 of us in here.
Right.
And they always knew that, you know what I'm saying? But at Tecumseh, it was a whole different vibe, man. And I remember the first time I got harassed by this dude, White Cat, and I knew he had a fake leg, because he had that little gitch in his step, man. And he, shakedown. You know, that's regular behavior on the yard. You know, they randomly pull you off the yard, shake down, make sure you ain't got no banger on you or no dope or no shit like that, right? So he shakes me down, man. You know, what's that look on your face? You know, kind of like, and I ain't used to this shit. You know, guard ever would talk to me like that, NSP. Like, motherfucker, I'll knock you out, man. And these dudes surrounded me, man. Like, gang mentality. So the homies across the yard watching it all go down. So I come back across the yard and shit. He's like, yeah, that's them motherfuckers right there. I was like, are you fucking serious, man? Yeah, they had their own fucking gang out in Tecumseh, man. So it ain't what you think all the time. And there's guards in there that it gets to the point, man, where motherfucker will put a hit out on your ass. Motherfucker will set his cell on fire to try to get you to come in here. I've seen guards with their heads busted open with the pillowcase over his head, and the pillowcase just purple. Yeah, I was like, God damn, seeing that shit for the first time. So I hear those kinds of stories, and I gotta hear both sides. You know, there's some guards in there, man. They're not there just to get their paycheck, man. They come in here to fuck
power
with you,
trippers,
to try to power trip with you, to try to make your time hard and shit, man. And then they end up getting fucked up in there. I've seen it several different times.
Yeah, it was like one of the worst things about my experience at the regional center. You know, you got like some guys that go in there with like a prison guard mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and this ain't that, bro.
It's like, bro, you're literally beefing with someone who talks about seeing fucking birds and
don't even know he here
in his room.
Right,
how fucking tight are you? You know?
Well, my smart ass, I used to fuck with these motherfuckers so hard. Like, I did my time how the fuck I wanted to do it. You know what I mean? I never got down on myself. I never got depressed about anything because I always knew I'm a strong-minded motherfucker. This shit's going to be over. They got to let me up out of here. So I started, you know, noticing shit after 2, 3, 4, 5 years that if something happens in here, there's a prison break or whatever, they suspect there's a fork missing in the kitchen or something, and they lock this motherfucker down, they're locking you down too, bro. You're not leaving. If second shift's coming in and there's something happening in this prison, you're not leaving. You're locked in that bubble, and they're not going to fucking let you out. If they suspect you of bringing some fucking dope in here, motherfucker, they gonna pull you to the side and ask you to spread your motherfucking ass cheek and lift your fucking nuts too, motherfucker. You're subject to the same fucking shit. That door I gotta go through to go to visits every day and shit, you gotta go through the same door. Matter of fact, you gotta go through 2 of them. I'm stuck in here. You come in here every day. Like it's cool and shit. And then you're like, fuck you. No, fuck you, motherfucker. What's wrong with you?
It's like one of those jobs that attracts like people who want to do the right thing and make a difference and like want to have a good career, or people who are like actual psychopaths.
You're
and,
right.
Like nobody in between.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
It's like people who are like, I'm here to do a good job and like keep people safe and do everything the right way. And then there's people who are like, I'm here to
punish the criminals,
power trip, or not even that, but like I'm here because I know that I can sell cigarettes in this motherfucker for thousands of dollars.
And then
like
there's
stuff like that. Like, and there's not really anything in between.
The contraband cowboys.
Yeah, it's like jobs like that, like cops. There's a little bit of that in the military too.
There's a whole lot of that in the military, in my experience. You know,
probably on a heavier scale in the military, but yeah,
it's definitely a more nuanced scale in the military because you got the guys that are like, the wannabe hardcores where it's like, oh, I'm gonna be Rambo and shit, and it's like they never
deploy
become Rambo. Yeah. And then you got like the guys where they're just looking at it as like a cheap meal ticket. Like where some people would refer to like some people in the military as like welfare queens, because like, yeah, there were definitely a lot of dudes who were way out of shape, really had no business. They managed to get in, but then once they got in, they got like comfortable, like the guys that would always fail like PT tests and stuff and just mess around all the time and just collect that check and stuff.
Yeah, you definitely had those kinds of guards in there where you had your guards where you better have all your shit buried. Don't walk across the yard with nothing in your pockets because he's on the fucking hunt. Then you had those guards where this job was a stepping stone for him. He's either going to be a cop, or he's going to the military, or he's in the reserves already, or he's going to be a lawyer or something, and he just wants to see what's up in here. Yeah, but the motherfuckers that were in between, bro, those were the ones bringing the shit in. I probably say 99.8% of the shit that's in prisons. And there's probably more weed, probably more coke, probably more heroin, probably more meth, or as much. as there is on the streets right now
Mm-hmm.
in that fucking
Well, it's crazy. I
prison.
know there was like videos that were released on like the news, and other people did stuff on YouTube channels about it. But there was like a prison in Louisiana where like basically the prisoners were basically like running it like a club. Like
We
they
do
had
run- we do
phones,
run
they
it.
would have like
Yeah.
women brought in and
Yeah.
stuff, and it was kind of like when like when people talk about when Al Capone and stuff were like in that one movie, like
What
was
that?
it like Goodfellas, or
Goodfellas.
something, where they're all
Yeah.
in prison but they
Yeah.
got like their own like
Oh, you
Pablo
got those
Escobar
guys.
thing,
You got those guys. I mean, they ain't fucking frying up steaks or nothing in their cell or nothing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you see that dude over there.
But
with
that's
the
what like
silk
these
pajamas.
dudes in that like
He got a
one
whole
prison were
silk
doing.
pajama set in this.
Yeah, they have like a
That ain't
kitchenette
in the
in the
catalog,
cell,
bro.
yeah.
Where'd you get that shit from? That ain't in the catalog, man. Like this dude got a whole and got the toiletry bags and shit. Like you see those, you see those kinds of guys. But like your cell don't look like mine, motherfucker.
The taken care of
What
dudes,
you got in here?
the made men.
Yeah, like I said, my Celly Floyd, old Floyd or Italian dude. I hope old Floyd's still alive. Like, you got cellmates that'll get literature, books, catalogs, magazines, and shit. And like I said, Floyd got caught with $1 million cash in his trunk, a bloody raincoat, and a shovel, but they can never prove anything. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother story. But this dude used to get catalogs, like, and these things were like damn near 2 feet, and I'm like, Floyd, you mind if I check out your magazine? And I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at, and I'm like, what is this, man? I'm like, these are fucking islands and shit for sale.
Oh, one of those catalogs.
Yeah, I'm like,
I remember you got
yeah,
a whole chapter of planes.
yeah, you a motherfucker. You like, I was like, this kind of shit exists, motherfucker. Just plain islands.
Yeah,
you
could
would
you
have
imagine
to
like a pamphlet where it's a beautiful island, but it's to sell
To
the
sell.
island, not to go visit it. It's
I'm
like,
like-
yeah, you can have this all yours, for this amount of money.
I was in the cell with old boy probably for probably about 2 years, man, and I didn't go for nothing. I didn't go without nothing. As long as I was in there with old Floyd, I didn't go without nothing in that
Nice.
motherfucker, man. I was like, shit, you cool with me, motherfucker?
Bro, it's
He
probably
was
like
from
one of the,
Vegas.
it's one of the ultimate flexes, like owning your own island. Like if any pandemic hits, you can just, I'm gonna head to my island. Like shit.
I remember seeing this map. I can't remember where I was. I might have been in fucking prison, matter of fact. But I remember seeing this map, and it was off Florida. Like I know about the Florida Keys, but like even all the way around through Mexico and even like Baja, California and shit. You guys realize how many empty fucking islands are out there that they don't put on the map?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, it's like the whole like the Pacific Ocean.
Just little slabs, little pieces, probably nothing that you can put even 10,000 people on, but it's out there.
Well, it's crazy when they're still discovering stuff to this day. Where you almost like. I think like when we look at maps, a lot of us have like a crazy understanding of what we're actually looking at compared to the reality of it.
No.
Because even like the main maps that we use, the actual proportions of everything are actually really off when they make like the
Way
whole
off.
Africa look almost on par with like the states. But in reality, it's like no, you can actually fit the country in Africa like 3 times, or
Three,
something,
four,
yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 times. Maybe 3 or 4
And then
times.
just really gives you an idea of just like how big
How
some
massive
empty
Africa
spaces in the world are. Or even if you look at like Australia, but you look at the population density map of it, you'll realize that everybody in Australia mostly lives straddling the coastline.
On
So
one
that
side.
whole big chunk, the outback really is just the outback. Like
Dinosaurs probably
scarce
out in that
things,
motherfucker
yeah.
running around stealing shit. Think
Right.
about a place like Australia, man. There's probably shit down there running around.
Well, I mean, how they keep discovering like new crap whenever like a sinkhole happens. Like there was some recent sinkhole thing that like there was like a whole like jungle, like ecosystem just existing in this pocket. You
Was
know what
that
I'm saying?
was it inner Earth?
Pretty much, though. In reality, that is
Crazy.
exactly what that is.
I mean, this motherfucker is so. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think I said this on the show before. The old spools of yarn that your grandma used to sew with.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things are 2, 3, 4, 500 yards long.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to keep switching it and shit. He said, take a red marker and mark a red dot on there. Now pull that whole 600 spool yarn out, and now find Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he said. Yeah, now find Earth. Now think about how massive, like you said, even Africa was if Earth's that big. What he said, Texas. Let's just use Texas. Let's just use a state.
Mm-hmm.
How massive, how off they are on the map of Texas. Everybody talks about like population control and shit like that. There's no way that would ever ever happened. I think
Yeah,
they
no,
said
we got ample
everybody in
space.
the country can fit in Texas alone. That's how
Yeah.
fucking big Texas
I was
is.
saying that's like another one of those perspective things that some people have problems with understanding too, where it's like, it's like we got a big population, but again, in a lot of countries too, it's like it's usually concentrated in urban areas. You know what I'm saying? So
Look
it's
at
like,
Nebraska.
yeah, or so
It's
it's like,
all
when
along the
people
east,
like think
along
of
the east
like
side.
Russia as being some massive country, but then you look at it and realize that majority of actual Russian people are in like the western half of the country, and the whole eastern half is really just Siberia and just tundra.
Yetis and shit.
Or even when you look at America
Is
too,
that where
it's
the
like,
Yeti is in Russia?
Probably.
Is that the Yeti?
no,
Forever?
they
That's
call
where
it
I'd
the
be.
Yeti in like Nepal.
Nepal?
Yeah, but I'm sure the Russian,
What's
everybody's
Russia got?
got,
Everybody's got
some Bigfeet, Yeti,
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch, something or other.
Where's the
We still
Yeti?
got to talk to Justin's friend about.
Yeah, we
His
working
Bigfoot
on
thing.
that. We got to work on that. You ever seen a Bigfoot, dog? You believe in Bigfoot?
Everything here's just calling it Russian Bigfoot. So.
Russian Bigfoot.
I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I believe there's a possibility that Bigfoot-like creatures could definitely still exist.
I'm not willing to just mark it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at. Like I can't rule it out completely because I mean, even to this day,
Called a
like
snow person.
In Russia?
Yeah.
That's it?
Call it a snow person.
Nothing.
so whatever that translates to. And,
Almas.
Almost.
but it's like they found those Hobbit people recently too, and like they dated the bones, and it's like, oh wow, these separate human beings lived at the same time as like our forebears. You know what I'm saying? So it's like literal Hobbit people were living on an island. So it's like, yeah, there could have definitely been some island or just some remote region where these things are just living in small numbers.
What do you say? Only 7% of the ocean has been explored. Well, then how much of just America has actually been touched and seen by
Well,
man?
hell,
You'd think at this point they would have like the entire Earth like
You would think
3D mapped.
Surface 3D
Think.
mapped.
You would think.
Well, it's like
Somebody knows.
it's like I was telling you and Jana the other day when I was in here for a haircut, how they have that LiDAR stuff now, where they can penetrate like through foliage and jungle from like aircraft with these radars, and now they just keep finding like abandoned cities and like the Amazon and stuff. And then
Well,
when you,
yeah, because the Amazon
is
wasn't.
man-made.
It was.
Yeah.
It's man-made like a motherfucker.
yeah, so it's like, yeah, of course. Think about
they
how
all
fast.
left and everything just took over.
Like think how fast like nature retakes like an abandoned house,
6
in your
months,
hood
shit.
that people lived
Shit,
in
a
the
month.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
A
like,
month.
yeah, over this much time, all these cities, it's like, yeah, there's like how some kid found one using Google Earth that was already next to an established site. Like literally all you had to do is just walk a few feet into the jungle and you would have found like the outskirts of this other city that was just completely covered in jungle that people passed by for hundreds of years not even knowing it was there. This kid finds it and now they start clearing it out and it's just this massive thing and it's just like
I saw one that was covered on purpose,
Where
like in the Amazon. Like the evidence looked like it was buried.
like deliberately buried.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, they say that China does that. So they say that there's actually a lot of pyramids in China that China then buries and
they're finding
disguises as like
pyramids
hills and
everywhere, yeah.
mountains. Yeah.
yeah, they're
Because for
finding
some
pyramids.
reason China doesn't want to like let it be known whatever these pyramids they have are, or, whatever. So they just cover them up in dirt, and it's like, oh, that's a hill. There's no pyramid under there.
Well, I think the Chinese wants to. They want to be from themselves, and they're finding out that they're not from themselves. They're from
Yeah, some other thing.
Africa somewhere.
Well, it's like
Because there was a whole slave trade, on the other side of Africa that nobody knows about, and it went right up to their country. So I think a lot of them are finding out that they're probably African.
it's like it's really wrong for some people to think of history as
The
a line.
Asiatic black man.
Yeah, it's like it's really bad when people think about history as a line, because in reality it's more of like a spiral. So we'll go up and then down, and then up and then circle back down again. So like you
Might
have a lot of
shift
people
over a little bit and go through the middle.
like you have a lot of people that believe there could have been like an actual like we're not the first age of man. Like there was possibly another age of man that existed some other point, and whatever happened to them, they died, and then it it's kind of like an apocalypse scenario now where we become like Mad Max people. But like subtract that to like ancient times, and then all the cavemen, our forebears that we think were cavemen, were actually just like the feral children of whatever those societies were after like society collapsed and people just started wilding out again.
Well, they had feral people in Mad Max.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Where it's like, yeah, eventually, like, yeah, if there's no order, people will like revert to an almost animalistic state before stuff starts getting back to normal again. So it's like, who's to say that those cavemen weren't just the feral aftermath of some other collapse of something else.
That's crazy. We're out of time. We're gonna end on an existential crisis this week.
Shit
Think
got
about that
deep in
all
here
week.
tonight, baby.
We've
Yeah.
been here before.
Go to sleep to that.
Go
Think
to
about
sleep.
that. Anyway, thanks for coming in again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good times. Good
Gotta
vibes.
do it again. Gotta
Good
do it again.
vibes as always. We'll try to talk to Justin's friend, see if he can corroborate that Bigfoot story.
Oh yeah, I
I'm really
remember that
interested
one.
in that.
Yeah, I'm all about Bigfoot, man.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Check us out on our social medias, mostly Twitter, Instagram. You can look at our popular. Oh, I forgot to talk about 50 Cent.
What's up with
I got some thoughts about 50 Cent. He was in the new Expendables movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we went and saw that just because like it was my birthday, and we're like, oh, let's go to the movies.
Still
But there
dope.
wasn't really any good movies we wanted to see out, so we're like, we'll go see the Expendables. I mean, he wasn't good. He wasn't great.
He ain't working on his craft.
Is what
huh?
I'll say.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, he's got some work to do. In the acting department was a little
He's not an action hero.
boring. For us.
Whatever.
Yeah, he still looks buff.
Okay.
Still pretty jacked.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when you got to give him like the no line treatment. You know, it's like, oh, his vocal cords
Right.
got shot out or something.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Terry Crews wasn't an action hero. I mean, but whatever.
Whatever.
But Terry Crews has
He was
charisma
swole.
though. You know,
Yeah,
he's,
you're
he's
right, you're right,
entertaining.
you're right.
He's got Riz.
Yeah, he's got the Riz.
He's got the Riz. Terry Crews.
All
Terry
right.
Crews got the Riz.
Slide that in there.
Riz. All right. Anyways, thanks for listening. Have a great week.